Hello, viewers. Welcome back to another interesting module of biology. Here we are going to discuss human brain and its activity. Before going into detail, just subscribe our channel and like our video so that you can grab all the information related to biology in near future. Let's move on. So, do you know what is the most powerful and complicated part of your body? Well, true, that is brain. Brain is very highly complex structure in your body and it is performing a very vital role for you and your nervous system. You have heard multiple times that you are intelligent, you are creative, you are smart, you have learned good learning, you remember a lot of things. But do you know how is that possible? Because your brain is processing all that information for you so that it can be retained for the longer period of time and it is in your memory. Before going into details of how many parts or what role the brain is playing for you, we will discuss about the protection of your brain because like all other organs, brain is also protected by three layer or three membranes. Human nervous system is a very delicate process and it includes two main components. Number one is the brain and the other one is spinal cord. Today our video is about brain and in our next video we will discuss about the spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord both are protected with a membrane known as cranium. Cranium is basically the skull which is protecting both brain and spinal cord and it is further protected by the meninges. Meninges is basically providing nutrient and oxygen to your brain tissues through the capillaries. The last layer is about the cerebrospinal fluid, which is basically a fluid and it is cushioned to your brain from the shock or injuries. The brain contains a hollow spaces called ventricles that are continuous with the central canal of the spinal cord. These are filled with the cerebrospinal fluid as well, just to retain the structure of the brain and to protect it from any sort of injury. Let's discuss the three layers in a little detail. Cranium is skull and is composed of 22 bones, and 8 are cranial while 14 are facial bones, which are giving your facial appearance. Then comes the meninges. Meninges contain three type of the matter. Number one is the pia matter, which is innermost, then arachnoid, the middle one, and the dura matter, which is the outermost and is composed up of fibroblasts and collagens, which strengthen and support the structure of your brain. Then comes the cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid is among the whole of your brain and it is covering the ventricles. That means the spaces inside the brain, and the fluid is supporting towards the shock or towards the injuries if your brain faces. Brain is so delicate that the immediate response is processed inside the brain and that information is received through the motor neuron and the responses are generated by the effectors. Have you thought that you are feeling hungry, thirsty, sad, conscious, excited, feared? Sometimes you are painful, sometimes you are curious about few things, sometimes your breathing rate is high and sometimes it's very low. Did you think about that? Why is all this happening to you? Let's answer it. Answer to all these questions is that your emotions, senses, and body responses are directly controlled by your brain. Yes, brain is so smart that it can process the information from the sensory receptors and it transport that information in the form of the output from the motor neurons to your effectors. For example, if a person have a current and that current is received from your sensory receptor in your hand and it is processed inside your brain that it's time to stretch your hand away from the current, and the brain generate the response and you stretch your hand away from the electric current. So far you came across that brain is most delicate and complicated structure of your body and it is protected by the three membranes from any sort of shock or the damage from the environment. You also came to know that the brain is controlling all the emotions and feelings and senses, even the body temperatures and the body levels, breathing levels, everything is under the control of your brain. Now let's come to the structure of the brain. Brain has three parts. Number one, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Let's discuss these in detail. So, your forebrain has three major components or the three major parts or sections. Number one is the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of your brain. Then comes the thalamus and the hypothalamus. All of them are performing various roles for you and your body. Cerebrum is further divided into two hemispheres with the four lobes: occipital lobe, temporal lobe, frontal lobe, and parietal lobe. These two hemispheres are connected through the number of neurons and performing a function for your body. Occipital lobe is responsible for vision, temporal lobe is concerned with hearing and smelling, frontal lobe controls the movement of skeletal muscles, including the movement involved in speech, and the parietal lobe receives the stimuli from the skin and provides awareness of body position. The right and left hemispheres of your cerebrum control the opposite sides of your body. It means that left side of hemisphere is controlling your right side of the body, and the right side of your hemisphere is controlling the left side of the body. And the bundle of fibers which are connecting these two hemispheres is known as corpus callosum. Then comes the thalamus. Thalamus receive all sort of sensory impulses from your body areas, and before passing them to the cerebrum, they are processed inside the thalamus. So thalamus is just below the cerebrum, and it receives all the impulses. Thalamus is also involved in receiving the pain reception, and it is very much concerned for the consciousness of the human body. Then hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is after the thalamus or below the thalamus. It regulates the body temperatures, appetite, water balance, blood pressure, feelings, moods, and other things. It also links the nervous system and endocrine system as it regulates the secretion of pituitary gland, which is the master of all the glands. We will discuss the pituitary gland or the endocrine gland in our some other video. Just below the hypothalamus lies the pituitary gland, and it is a very small gland about the size of the pea, but it is playing a very major role in the body. After the forebrain, midbrain is mass of tract below the cerebrum. Midbrain receives all the sense information and it sends it to the appropriate part of the forebrain, for example, occipital lobe, temporal, frontal, parietal, or other part. Basically, midbrain act as a relay center to process all the information. It is also involved in controlling the auditory reflexes and posture of your body. It is a very small portion. It is not further divided into any other part. After the midbrain comes the hindbrain. Hindbrain is further divided into three parts: cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and the pons. Cerebellum is the second largest part of your brain. It is involved in the body balance and coordination of different sort of body muscles. Medulla oblongata is basically in controlling involuntary responses and is the part of the brain above the spinal cord. Medulla control all the responses such as heartbeat, blood pressures, respiration. So it means the breathing system or the breathing center is also under the control of medulla oblongata. Pons is assisting the medulla in the breathing system. Medulla also control the reflexes such as coughing, sneezing, vomiting, and the information is processed from medulla between the spinal cord and rest of the brain. Pons is having a small lobe-like structure lying just above the medulla, and it is also serving as a connection between cerebellum and the spinal cord. So, hindbrain is basically the last part of your brain, and at the base of the brain runs the spinal cord, which is oval shaped hollow cylinder of the nervous tissue, which is protected by the vertebrae of the backbone. 31 pairs of the nerve originate from the spinal cord. There are sensory neurons and the motor neurons, which are sensing the information and sending from the receptor to the brain, and command is received to the effectors, and the processing is initiated. So, better functioning of the brain is helped by the spinal cord. We will discuss the spinal cord in our next video. Until then, do subscribe our channel and like our video, and let us know what you would like to see in future.